Happier Life, Chapter 111. Examine your conscience as often as possible. If you were to take a closer look at your behavior, many complaints and grievances would disappear. We readily spot other people's problems and mistakes. Usually, when others create difficulties and put up obstacles, they do so in reaction to your behavior, the way you have expressed yourself and the way you have acted. Have the courage to examine yourself more severely, calling to mind attitudes and words. Upon discovering mistakes, correct them right away. Seek out those whom you have upset and make amends. Do not persevere in error, whatever the reason. So in today's lesson, Joanna is giving us a very important tip on how to live a better and happier life by looking at our conscience, by examining our own actions, behaviors, words, how we are treating others, our own dynamics in our relationships. We have been trained, we are accustomed, it has been our paradigm to look outwards. So as she says here, we spot very easily people's mistakes, people's limitations. We're often talking about the ways people are treating us, and sometimes we don't understand. It puzzles us why people are treating us in certain ways. But what she's warning us and bringing to our attention is that what we call someone's actions, more often than not, is someone's reactions. They are reacting to the way that we are treating, to our dynamic. A lot of times it can be a dynamic of passive hostility. It can be a dynamic of active and direct hostility. Sometimes we are using of sarcasm. Sometimes in our ways of dealing with someone, we can be very diminishing of someone. We can be manipulating. We can be humiliating without necessarily being aware of that. And sometimes we are aware of that to some extent. So it's challenging, and it's really calling us to take responsibility in our part in conflicts and difficult relationships, because let's agree on something, right? No one is in a conflict when there's only one person's responsibility in the conflict. Conflict means that there are two parts, and each part has its share of responsibility into that conflict. So a lot of times we are very focused on how people are acting towards us, and we fail to see which and how have we contributed to that person's behavior towards us. And it takes, as she says here, a severe, like, examine yourself more severely. Examine your attitudes, examine your words, examine how you have been behaving and relating. And if you realize that perhaps you haven't been the most loving person, which, hey, we all are in this place from time to time, then give yourself a chance to be humble and recognize your humanity, your wounds, your frailty, your limitations, and say, I'm going to be a better version of myself. I am going to call that person, apologize for maybe words or behaviors that you had towards him or her, and try to do differently moving forward. Again, this is very difficult. It takes a lot of humility. It takes a lot of awareness. It takes willingness to grow, willingness to go through this painful process. It's certainly not an easy process, but one that brings that changes the quality of our living, changes the quality of our relationships, and therefore, after the struggles and the difficulties with the process, the outcome is always one of peace and harmony. And just there's nothing more valuable than being in peace with your mind, in peace with your heart, and in peace with the people who are part of your lives. And this, my dear friends, is happiness.